They say your body is a temple, but is your body a temple? We mentioned in the last video that the body is a tensegrity structure. And in this video, we will compare that to a temple, which is a continuous compression structure. And we will analyze and compare the way these two different kinds of structures operate in reality and what determines how well functioning they are. And this will highlight for you what you need to focus on in your life and in your training regimen so that you can be pain-free and live a life of high functionality. Let's imagine for a moment the human body built like a compression structure such as a temple or a house. We would notice that the head or the roof sat on the neck brick, which sat on the ribs or the brick below that, the brick below that, the brick below that, all the way down to the feet. Now, something to know about compression structures is that the bottom brick needs to be thick enough and sturdy enough to handle the weight of all the bricks above it. So if the body was a compression structure, the feet would need to be the densest and thickest bones, whereas the head, the cranium, would need to be the lightest. Well, our heads are pretty thick. This is the first thing to notice. The second thing is that in a compression structure, they really only have to deal with one type of force coming at it from one direction. That's important. They only deal with gravity, really, coming down from the top, continuously compressing everything below down through the bottom. And that means that they only have to be optimized to handle force from one direction, which is gravity, coming straight down. Because of this, and because they do not have to change shape or positioning, they are very stable and sturdy. And they are able to handle gravity very well, but it is because they do not have to change shape or position. And if they did, if you rolled a house down a hill, it would no longer look like a house. The moment you bring in forces that change direction, such as a hurricane or a tree falling on the house, that all of a sudden reveals a lot of weaknesses in a temple or building structure because they are not designed to adapt to outside forces. They are just designed to stay in one place, in one shape, and handle gravity coming down through it. Let's compare that now to the human body. The human body can go for a run, and it can roll down a hill, and it can hang from its arms, and it can handle force coming at it from all these different angles, and yet it does not break. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at a tensegrity structure and see the difference. So this is a tensegrity structure, and you'll notice that yes, it can change shape, but it changes shape systemically, meaning as I move one piece, one rod, one bone, the entire structure responds to it, to that input. And that is what makes it very efficient, is that the moment force enters it from any angle, any side, it's absorbed and handled throughout the whole system. All the teammates are there to play the game, and that makes it very efficient because we're sharing the load over the most amount of real estate. That is the goal. What allows this system to be so efficient and effective? It is what we call resting tension, the balance of tension on all of these bands or muscles, connective tissue, fascia. The resting tension in these bands determines the integrity of the structure. Tension, integrity, tensegrity. As this structure changes shape, all of the bands respond by getting more tense until it's absorbed the full amount of force, and then they all snap back into equilibrium. That is what allows us to be so adaptable. So how does this structure break down in a way that would result to pain, like in your knees or lower back? You see, as we've said, when the structure changes shape, force is absorbed. Well, what happens when one of these bands loses tension? If I could snap my fingers and take one of these bands away, you would notice that the bands around it all had to get a little bit tighter to handle the loss of that band. You would notice that all of a sudden, two of these bones maybe started drifting closer together. And maybe over here you would notice that one band all of a sudden just got a lot more droopy because the tension in this band actually required the tension in this band to pull the bones in such a way that there was enough space between these 2 points that this band had tension. And that is, you can see very quickly how things can get complicated and complex and how you have to understand the relationships. But that is the fact of the human body, is that the integrity of any one part depends on the integrity of other parts. And so when you go into a training regimen and you just start building muscle, if you are not aware of where you are lacking resting tension to begin with, you are going to be building muscle around imbalances and actually entrenching imbalances further by forcing the body to act and move a lot of weight when it doesn't yet have the full capacity to be efficient. All right, folks, I hope you feel just a little bit more adaptable after watching this video, and I will see you in the next one, where we will look at what tensegrity-based movement looks like, as well as talk about some common daily movements we do that we can bring more tensegrity into those movements. I will see you there.